Hey Kiwi, alright, welcome back to another Pokemon Shining Pearl episode. I was just gonna I just stepped forward and Betty immediately emerged, so I guess we are getting our rival fight after all. Just for full clarity, I did go and pick up a couple items from Veilstone Department Store and got some new moves on a couple characters. I'll mention them briefly, and we put some items on some friends as well. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump right in. Today's our Elite Four challenge. Hold it, don't go off without me. You're challenging the Pokemon League, aren't you? That's why I'm here too. Let's see who's more worthy of making the challenge with a battle. Well, unfortunately, I positioned expecting Sydney, the bug-type user, so we won't be leading with Quipplecore in anticipation of his Staraptor rather, but that's fine. Celestabetha can't really do much here, but we can switch her out and maybe intimidate with Captain Squawk. Probably the best way to go about this. The Intimidate off of his Staraptor is actually going to be a bit of a problem for us, since Celestabetha already is kind of lacking in terms of damage. So what TMs did I get? I guess I can point them out real quick. So I swapped out Fire Spin for Flamethrower. I gave Steel Wing to Pine Tree, which I believe we did in the last episode. I switched out Heavy Slam with Gyro Ball, which has fewer moves, but it's probably going to be more consistent in terms of damage output for Gnog. And then I got Thunderbolt instead of Spark. The special attack of Captain Squawk is reasonably high enough that I figured it will make up for the base damage of Thunderbolt should make up for the slightly lower special attack stat that Captain Squawk has compared to his regular attack. And we have Volt Switch for our physical dealing move. And hopefully the Staraptor does not steal our... Okay, so and then the other thing is I gave some new items to people. So I went ahead and gave Captain Squawk black glasses to enhance the damage of his Crunch, because we do have a Psychic type Elite Four member, and I figure he'll be a good answer to that, since he's already fairly bulky in the Special Defense Department anyway. That Staraptor survived with 1 HP, didn't it? Does it have a Focus Sash, or am I just unlucky? Okay, it must have a Focus Sash. Cute of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Volt Switch so that we can switch in on something else. And then the other items, so I gave Quipplecore Soft Sand, so its Earthquake's damage is enhanced. I gave a Citrus Berry to Celestabetha because I didn't really have anything else to give her. I gave Manny his Quick Claw because Manny loves his Quick Claw. I gave Soothe Bell, or what is it, Shell Bell is still what Gnog has. And then Pine Tree has Razor Claw, which enhances the chance of crit chance on Pine Tree's attacks. I didn't really have a good item for Pine Tree either, so that's why I went with that. We're going to switch out. I think Manny the Dude Buster is always a good kind of middle of the road, can counter most of the things he throws at us sort of Pokemon, so we'll have Manny be our lead here. And he's going to switch out to Roserade, which means we do not want to stay out any further. We'll switch back into Celestabetha, I think, here, as she'll be a good answer to the poison grass type that Roserade is. And I think with that in mind, I think we've kind of got our talking set. We know what we're in for. Let's talk about Doduo and Dodrio, another of the many Pokemon that fall victim to Gen 1's ethos of making a Pokemon with one have many after the evolution. Again, like Magnemite and Diglett before it. Doduo and Dodrio suffer from basically being a bird with 2 heads and then a bird with 3 heads. Imagine if there was like a baby form of Doduo that was just Doduno, I guess? Because it would be, yeah, it would be Doduno, I guess. I could see them making that one day, maybe. Or maybe they go the opposite direction and give Dodrio an evolution instead. Overall, not the biggest fan of them. I found them amusing in the anime because they animated the Dodrio heads to be kind of fighty with each other. Okay, he's switching out a Heracross into a fire type. Guaranteed this Heracross has Earthquake. I am expecting that, or it could have Rock Slide. Either way, I think the safest option would be to switch out to play it safe. If it's Earthquake, Pine Tree can handle that just fine. If it's not, Pine Tree gets rocked by Rock Slide. I could actually switch in Gnog. He can probably resist most moves here, except unless it uses Mega Horn. I don't think Steel types resist Bug types anymore, or did they ever? I'm not sure. It's a little iffy to do that route. I think honestly Manny's probably the safest option. Let's switch out to Manny. Doduo is cute, but both Doduo and Dodrio don't do a lot for me design-wise. I like the colors on Dodrio, but it's very reminiscent of Spearow and Fearow, so it's kind of... I'm glad I didn't switch into Pine Tree. I would have very much regretted it against that Rock Slide off of a Heracross. Whew. I'm glad I had bad Juju vibes, and like, why would you switch out a Pokemon that's weak to this? Unless you have something to counter us. We'll just surf him down. Oh, and now you're gonna start stacking on us. That's really cute. Not a fan. Not a fan at all. I'm really afraid of the Pokemon in the coming battles that have stacking, like stat boosting moves that they can just stack on us while I'm switching out to play it safe. Because they don't have fear of death. I do. Anyway, so Doduo. Oh, you better not steal my Quick Claw. You better give it back at the end of this. Oh, Sticky Hold. Sticky Hold prevents our item from being stolen. Manny would never give up his Quick Claw. It's his favorite item by far. All right, cool. We're safe. We're fine. Anyway, where was I? So yeah, design-wise, they're not that crazy for me. I do kind of like I definitely like Dodrio more than Doduo in terms of design. In terms of casual, I did have a Dodrio on one of my teams for a little while because it was... Why are you switching out an Infernape to this? I feel like you don't have a counter to us on this instance, but I'm a little sketched by this. I'm gonna go for it. Maybe you have Ice Punch. Close combat. We should be able to tank that even from an Infernape. Yeah. And now your defense is dropped and you're gonna take a ton of damage from this Surf. Infernape is such a glass cannon. Yeah, so I had a Dodrio. I thought Tri-Beam was the coolest, or was it Tri-Attack? It was probably it was Tri-Attack. Tri-Attack was such a cool move to me as a kid, and back then, when normal types always did physical damage, they were relevant on Dodrio, less so on Porygon. So it was a really cool move, and for me at least, because I think it had a 10% chance of paralyzing, freezing, or burning, since it's basically a combination of 3 elemental types in one beam, which somehow equates into normal damage. Snorlax, I think I can manage with Pine Tree. We'll intimidate it, we'll chip it down a little bit with a wing attack, and then we'll close combat it to knock it out, I think. And generally Snorlax attacks with physical moves, although it can learn Thunderbolt. Maybe this was a bad switch. Hammer Arm, okay, that was a good choice to deal with it, I think. I will, for safety reasons, I think I will U-turn, because Snorlax has a very wide move pool. That was the kind of the ethos of normal types, is they're jacks of all trades sort of things. They have a very wide margin of moves they can learn. They just don't really resist many things, and they don't have anything they're super effective against, and that's their trade-off. With that in mind, Gonog can actually do a whole bunch of damage with Grass Knot here, since Snorlax is super heavy and Grass Knot's damage scales with weight. Alright, Yawn is not nearly as terrifying as Thunderbolt was there, so this is manageable. It's still good that we switched out, because I believe... I forget what I've made Sleep do. It isn't that it prevents... Ooh, that's gonna hurt a little bit. A little bit, but we did lower its attack. Never mind. Turns out Grass Knot did not do nearly as much as I'd like, and unfortunately we are asleep and our defense was lowered. Sleep doesn't prevent switching out, I believe, so I'm gonna switch Gonog out for this. It's a little too sketchy. I'll switch back into Pine Tree and we'll go ahead and get this Snorlax attack halved with 2 Intimidates, and then we'll use Close Combat. I think it would honestly still survive a Close Combat, so I might want to whittle it down a little bit further before I risk it. In terms of competitive viability, I don't really remember much about Doduo or Dodrio. My general thought process on them is there were better options. Yeah, they are fast and have reasonable attack, but Tauros and Persian were just so dominating and competitive that there was no reason not to use them as an alternative. So I think ultimately, oh gosh, the 90% accuracy on that Steel Wing, and it's missed on its first turn being used. Just exactly how I expected it to go. I'm gonna switch out to Captain Squawk and lower this Snorlax's attack even further, I think. Hammer Arm is a fighting type move, so it should be fine. As long as we don't switch into, honestly, anything, because this Snorlax's attack has been lowered so significantly, we're fine. Oh my god, stop spamming Yawn. Sleep Claws, man. Only one Pokemon on a team can be asleep at a time. That's the rule, right? I'm gonna Volt Switch this, though, because I can afford to. I guess we'll just Volt Switch U-turn with Pine Tree. This Snorlax will have next to no damage. Oh, also I should mention that we did put stickers on all the Pokemon capsules in between episodes as well, so I figured this is the final battle, this is the final gauntlet of battles, why don't we commit it to being something extra fancy? I think a Close Combat should knock out this Snorlax now. I hope. Okay, cool. Alright, we definitely switch Pine Tree out. I will go ahead and use a U-turn to switch out if I can, but if I have a fear of priority moves, I'll just manually switch out to play it safe. We don't want to lose Pine Tree right before the Elite Four. We'd be crushed, frankly. All right, Betty, what have you got? I fully believe in this last one. I have no reason to freak out. Oh, do you only have 4 Pokemon? It's your Floatzel. Okay, Floatzel does have Aqua Jet, and I don't want to risk getting hit by that with my damage, with my HP reduced. Wait, we really knocked out 5 Pokemon already? I don't remember his whole team. That's kind of embarrassing. All right, who handles Floatzel here? Captain Squawk, probably. What are we doing here? Oh, well, hello. Do I have my Joy-Cons on? Maybe that's the issue. I'm going to switch out to Captain Squawk here. Intimidating Floatzel will make it not do much damage, and then we can probably finish it off with a Volt Switch. Anyway, so I don't have that many memories about Doduo or Dodrio. I remember in the anime, I quite enjoyed the aesthetic of the heads of Dodrio getting into an argument with each other. Like, they did the classic multi-headed creature has like different personalities per head. I always found that for some reason fairly amusing. But beyond that, nothing really stands out for them. And again, I don't have any connection to them in the competitive scene. I never really used them. I used Dodrio as a kid in my very early casual playthroughs, and that's about the extent of it. All right, there we go. Defeated Trainer Betty. What just went down? My team still needs raising? All right, Betty, you gave it your best shot, but you were never a match for us. I guess I'm not ready for the Pokemon League if I'm losing to you. Darn it. Just you wait, I'll get tougher and win my way through the Pokemon League. Because I'm going to become the toughest Pokemon trainer there is, the champion. Jeff, you better not lose to anyone before me. That's the plan, Betty. All right, well, that was a surprise little battle. Thankfully, no one died. Because that would have been very upsetting if it happened. I think I'm going to lead with Celestabetha into Sydney, because I remember Sydney is a bug-type Elite Four gym leader, has a Dustox and a Vespiquen, and oh my goodness, his Drapion is terrifying. So his Drapion has the ability Sniper, if I recall, which increases the damage of critical hit moves, and then it's holding a item that increases crit chance, and it is using a bunch of moves that already have enhanced crit chance, like I think X Scissor and Night Slash were among the list, and I'm pretty sure I remember it having Earthquake, so we'll have to make sure I switch out Celestabetha if he switches that in. But here we go, Kiwi.
Let me confirm you are qualified to challenge the Pokemon League. To do so, I'll need to examine the gym badges you've gathered from around Sinnoh. Oreburgh City's Goal Badge, Eterna City's Forest Badge, Veilstone City's Cobble Badge, Pastoria City's Fen Badge, Hearthome City's Relic Badge, that place's City's Mine Badge, Snowpoint City's Icicle Badge, and finally Sunny Shore City's Beacon Badge.
There we go. Hooray, we did it. Thankfully, he doesn't judge us for how grimy our badges look, because they look like they are coated in ink.
Very well. Trainer, you have indeed collected all the gym badges of Sinnoh. Demonstrate the power that brought you here, and go for glory.
All right, moment of truth, and we're definitely going to give Sydney the Golem voice because it's just too funny not to. He's a bug trainer. I am saving for good juju and nothing else. Like, I know the save means nothing, but Kiwi, this could be where we wipe. Let's see. I checked my Pokedex. I do not have 60 Pokemon. In theory, I could go out and catch 6 more and then be allowed to use a Max Revive, but I'm not about that. We're going in. We're doing this. The Elite Four challenge begins. Onwards and upwards. Starting off, we've got Sydney, the bug trainer. Or maybe you're not Sydney. Maybe I'm mixing you up. Maybe I'm thinking of a different Elite Four. Never mind. I know you're a bug trainer, but maybe I have your name wrong. Whatever. In typical fashion for Jeff, I always engage the Elite Four gym members from behind for some reason. I don't know why. This has just always been a thing I've done since I was a kid.
Hello, welcome to the Pokemon League. I am Aaron of the Elite Four. It's good to meet you. Oh, I should explain, I'm a huge fan of bug Pokemon. Bug Pokemon are nasty mean, and yet they're beautiful too.
I guess we're not going with Golem for this guy after all.
Would you like to know why I take on challengers here, in this room? It's because I want to become perfect, just like my bug Pokemon. Okay, let me take you on.
That is not a great voice for my throat, I will say. Oh, he wants a hug. He loves his bug Pokemon. He wants to hug them. All right, let's see your Pokeball throwing animation. Let's see. Kind of basic. Whatever. All right, he's leading with Dustox. If I recall, this Dustox had screen setting abilities. We hopefully take it out before it does so, because if it starts setting up defensive tools for its team, it's gonna make it a lot harder to deal with them. We'll just flamethrower this and hopefully just burn the moth alive. I don't know if I really have much more to say about Doduo or Dodrio. That's unlucky. It survived with 1 HP, and it Toxic us. So, as per Nuzlocke rules, Toxic is lethal. Well, any poison is lethal if it's not cleared within 3 turns, so I am going to waste a turn to toss a Poison Cure here. And you have got Black Sludge, so I was right. I was right in that other episode. Black Sludge was an item that heals poison types the same way Leftovers does, but it only works on poison types, otherwise it poisons the user. That's cool. I don't think this Dustox has anything to really threaten us with, so I'm gonna go ahead and use one of those many antidotes we purchased, as again, if a Pokemon takes poison damage 3 turns in a row, it just immediately faints. Moonlight heals it, I believe. But that's fine because we just shy of one-shot it, so I don't really mind that. It's nice that Celestabetha gets her chance to shine now. I remember there is a Fire-type Elite Four, which is really funny because there were only 2 viable Fire types in this entire generation before the National Dex happens, and that's Ponyta and Infernape. So he's only going to have 2 Fire types, if I recall, those 2, and then he makes up the difference with completely off-type Pokemon, not even remotely Fire aesthetic at all. Moving along from Doduo and Dodrio, why don't we talk about some of the end of the Pokemon? Let's talk about the end zone of the Pokedex. So we've got, let's do the fossil Pokemon next. So we've got Kabuto, Omastar, and Omanite. In terms of the Omas, I can't keep them straight who's who. Okay, they did it again where they switched out a Heracross. This Heracross is either Earthquake or Rock Slide. I think once again we're going to switch out Manny the Dude Buster and let him tank whatever's thrown at him and then 2-hit the Heracross. Hopefully this one doesn't also try to set up with Swords Dance because that would be really rough. What have you got? Earthquake, okay. So this time I could in theory switch out to Pine Tree. I still wouldn't be surprised if the Heracross also has Rock Slide. It's a really good type coverage. Flame Orb. Okay, so if this Heracross is holding a Flame Orb, guaranteed it has Guts, which is its ability. Guts is a move that, or an ability that enhances your, it boosts your attack, I think, by 50% if you have a status ailment. It also has Facade, which is terrifying. So Facade is another move that space damage is doubled if you are, or at least significantly enhanced if you are have a status ailment. Facade and Guts boosted Pokemon are terrifying. This would be a great Pokemon to switch out to Star Gecko if we still had them, because it would make it miss, and then I could switch in. I'm a little afraid of the damage potential this Heracross has on us. I don't think it'll one-shot us, but it very well could. Let's see if we tank this Facade well enough. Okay, I guess I could have switched out to Go Nog 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 for safety, but we're fine. We are still fine. We take out the Heracross. Even if it survived, it probably would have died to burn anyway. Whew, okay, that's 2 down. What's next? Because Manny the Dude Buster is hurting pretty bad, and I'd like to heal him before the Drapion enters the field. Okay, Beautifly it has terrible stats. The only scary thing about it is it can Quiver Dance. I'm going to take this opportunity to heal with a Hyper Potion, though. It won't fully heal us, which is the one downside, but we need HP. We need HP ASAP. Again, for full clarity, I have a rule in my Nuzlocke that I cannot use max potions or full restores. I can at most use hyper potions. And it is setting up on us with Quiver Dance. Quiver Dance enhances its special attack, its special defense, and its speed. So that's a little scary. I'm gonna have to try and take it out. I'm gonna go ahead and hit it with an Ice Beam and hope that this is enough to at least 2-shot it. It has now doubled its special defense. It may be better to switch out to Quipplecore, who has a higher base attack. Because this Beautifly is going to hurt once it starts letting out moves. And I can't, like, intimidate it to make it take less damage. Thankfully, we still, like I said, Beautifly's space stats are pretty terrible. So even if it's doubled them, it's still getting 2-shot by our Ice Beam. This may boost its stats just enough to make it so it survives the next Ice Beam. And that makes me a little nervous for whatever it throws out, because now it has a significant set of boosted stats. Thankfully, he was committed to stat boosting, and he messed up. He just messed up. That's all there is to it. Okay, Drapion should be coming out soon. I think my answer to Drapion, it definitely has Earthquake. I would love to Intimidate it, but I don't trust that. Oh, hey, look, Celestabetha finally wants to learn Flare Blitz. As previously stated, I hate using moves with recoil on them because I think they're too costly, especially on a Nuzlocke. Otherwise, I would definitely make an argument for it. Discharge on Captain Squawk, though. 80 base damage with a chance of paralysis versus Thunderbolt's base 90 with a chance of paralysis. I think Discharge's base paralysis chance is higher, but I think it's better to keep Thunderbolt here. Since they're both specially offensive, I'd rather just take the higher base damage. Here's Vespiquen. All right, Vespiquen is less of a threat, a nerf. Okay, we can't eat berries, good to know. I would ideally switch out to Celesta Betha here, I think, for damage, but I think I'm just going to keep Manny in and Ice Beam it. It's just, switching out is kind of risky, is the very nature of things. What are you going to answer us with? Okay, you have a Citrus Berry. Right, I think most Pokemon, so basically every Pokemon in the Elite Four has at least one held item. Attack Order is a Bug-type move that has base 90 damage and fairly decent accuracy that only Vespiquen can learn, I believe. Alright, so it's just his Vespiquen and his Drapion left. I'm going to switch out to Celesta Betha and take this out, or... Actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch out to Captain Squawk. My logic for this is, one, Intimidate might lower some of the attacks that Vespiquen can do, because I think Attack Order is a physical move, but more importantly, as long as we can keep Captain Squawk in on the next turn when Drapion comes out... Acrobatics. Okay, good. That'll lower the damage of Acrobatics, that's fine. That didn't do much damage at all because we resist it. Here's my logic. Drapion is going to get enticed into using Earthquake to be super effective against Captain Squawk. We Volt Switch because we'll be faster, and then we switch into Pine Tree so we get a stack of Intimidate on it. That's my thought process here. Will it pay off? The thing about crit is that if you get any defense boosts, critical damage ignores defense boosts. It does not ignore the user's attack stat being dropped. So if we lower his attack with Intimidate, even if he crits, he'll be doing less damage. Okay, so that's my plan. I think I'm just gonna alternate U-turn and Volt Switch here because any crit is just gonna be devastating. Oh, it's faster than us. Oh no. Goodbye, Captain Squawk. Oh, wow. I did not expect Drapion to be that fast. I guess it's more so Captain Squawk is that slow, but also he a bulky mudda trucker. I am so sorry I said that. We're lucky that didn't crit though. That could have been really bad for us. I'm still gonna switch out to Pine Tree for the sake of getting a Intimidate off, but I will U-turn out, and Pine Tree should definitely be faster than Drapion. There's no way we're slower than that. Also, I like to point out that Drapion is not a bug type. It looks very buggy, so I am willing to forgive it for that, but it is not a bug type. It is a poison dark type. With that in mind, unfortunately, Steel Wing? No, I'm just gonna U-turn it. It'll be neutral damage. We should... Oh, you're still faster. Okay. No crits? Okay, good. No crits. We're lucky this guy has not crit. I don't know what his base crit chance is, but forgive me, I'm sweating a little bit here. Okay, because he's in the yellow, I suspect Sydney is gonna go ahead and use a full restore here on his next turn, so I might be able to kind of stack some Intimidates for safety strats. I'm honestly inclined to do that. Alternatively, I don't really have a good answer to him, do I? I mean, Quipplecore would probably be our answer. He can tank an Earthquake and he can dish out an Earthquake. I'm gonna go with that. Let's do Quipplecore. Let's see what happens if we send out Quipplecore here.
Not yet. Your first Pokemon League your first Pokemon League victory doesn't come that easily, kid.
All right. So yeah, let's go ahead and use Earthquake here. It should be super effective. Even if he uses a full restore, I think it'll do a whole lot of damage. And we have Sturdy, so even if this comes close to one-shotting us, which it definitely does not, we knock it out. Honestly, I'd rather it have it use Earthquake than X-Scissor or Night Slash, because those have enhanced crit chance. And if he gets a crit, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt a lot. But there we go. Elite Four #1 knocked out with a little bit of sweat. And I am so focused on the battle that I don't have real commentary on the various Gen 1 Pokemon.
I will now concede defeat, but I think you can see how great Bug-type Pokemon can be. I hope you also realize what you're up against in the Pokemon League. Battling is a deep and complex affair.
Honestly, no, bug types still suck. They're the worst defensive and honestly offensive type in the game.
I lost with the most beautiful and toughest of the bug Pokemon. We lost because I wasn't good enough. That's it, back to training camp, let's hear it from me. No, that was wrong. Anyway, go on to the next room. 3 more trainers are waiting for you. They're all tougher than me.
All right, so next Elite Four member, I believe, is a ground type user. So Celesta Betha is completely off the team, is completely benched here. Go Nog Noggog could make a stand for himself. Pine Tree could make a stand unless they have Rock Slide potential. Manny is going to be a defensive core as always. Captain Squawk is probably sitting out too, although he proved his worth. He survived an Earthquake off of Aaron's Drapion. That's kind of crazy. I did not. I honestly thought we had lost Captain Squawk there. Honestly, the Intimidate probably is what saved his life. But even then, I thought I saw lives flash before our eyes there. We're gonna make sure everyone's at full HP going into every fight. I do have to be mindful of our PP every time I'm using up all those moves that I really like to use, or we have fewer options later on, especially come Cynthia. I do think Cynthia is going to be the hugest gatekeeper. There is no way we're not having a death against Cynthia. But probably the best option is to just alternate U-turn and something else with Pine Tree maybe. The issue is for every one Intimidate, it takes 2 Intimidates to neutralize 1 Swords Dance, which is the one big issue that I have. The only option I really have for dealing with Garchomp is Manny's Ice Beam, and I don't think it's going to 2-shot him. I think Garchomp is surprisingly bulky for the glass cannon that it is. I don't know. It's looking dicey, is what I'm going to say. I think with that said, though, also I know for a fact that Garchomp has a Yacha berry, or whatever the berry that reduces ice type damage anyway, so there's no way we're one-shotting it with Ice Beam. We're going into ground type leader. That's what matters most. Let's go ahead and lead with Go Nog Nog Gog, because he has Grass Whip. He can do some reasonable damage against grass types, I think. And because he has ground types rather, and he resists ground type moves with Levitate, or more specifically, is immune to them. So he's a good answer to these monsters, I think. Are you a ground type leader? Am I mistaken? I'm pretty sure you certainly have ground type aesthetic. What is it? It's Bug, Ground, Fire, and Psychic, I believe, are the different types, and we know that Mr. Afro Dude has Fire type, so yeah. You've got to be the ground type leader. All right, here we go.
Well.
Yeah, look at her name, Bertha. It's got Earth in the name. You're definitely ground type.
You're quite the adorable trainer, but you've also got spine. I'm Bertha. I have a preference for ground type Pokemon. Well, would you show this old lady how much you've learned?
She's got some sweet jazz going on there. All right, Kiwi. Elite Four number 2, here we go. If I recall, she leads with Hippowdon to get Sandstream going. No, okay, she doesn't, but I remember she has a Hippowdon with Sandstream. It doesn't do a lot in the way of damage, but it has a lot of bulk, and that's the one downside to it. Leading with Quagsire is great for us because we can knock this out pretty well with Grass Knot. I don't think it'll one-shot because Quagsire's too bulky for that. But never mind, Go Nog Nog is a champ. All right, let's see if I can comment a little bit about the fossil type. So by and large, I don't have that much connection with them. They all get, if we talked about Cloyster getting Shell Smash not too long ago, and at the very least I remember Kabutops having some degree of viability at one point or another for that reason, because it could also get Shell Smash, and Kabutops is a fast, physically offensive Pokemon, so it worked really well in his favor. Stone Edge, I don't actually think this is going to hurt that much, even if it crits. Yeah, we're fine. And so Kabutops have had a little time to shine with Shell Smash, but it's just too frail. It's so easily knocked out. Even with Focus Sash, if your opponent has Stealth Rocks or any traps on the field, that kind of invalidates the strategy. It feels bad, but realistically speaking, Kabutops, Amistar, Ammonite never really had their chance to shine. Of course, the whole Praise Helix, the Twitch Plays Pokemon story, that is certainly classic in favor of some of those. I believe Helix was the Amistar Ammonite fossil, so I definitely appreciate it for that story. Okay, we're using up all her full restores, which is nice, since those are kind of a problem. And I'd rather her use them on the Pokemon we one-shot than the Pokemon we can't. So certainly the Twitch Plays Pokemon has a bonus point for the Helix Pokemon. I believe the Dome Pokemon were Kabuto and Kabutops from the Dome Fossil. Helix Fossil gave rise to Omastar and Omanite. But beyond that, like, I don't really have that strong a connection with any of them. I think between the two of them, I, as a kid, like Omastar Omanite more, but I've since grown a little bit more fond of the Kabutops line in particular, because Kabuto is supposed to look like a, a horseshoe crab, and I used to work with horseshoe crabs when I worked at the aquarium, so I got an appreciation for them. It's interesting, if you didn't know, and this is a bit of a problem actually, I believe their blood contains cobalt, I believe, and so they were like kind of farmed and harvested in the wild for that reason, to get an easy source of cobalt for manufacturing things, and unfortunately it did make them an endangered species, I believe. I could be mistaken, like I might be just speaking completely out my ass on this one. Ooh, Sucker Punch? Okay, that did some damage. Sucker Punch, for context, is a move that always goes first against an opponent that's attacking. And the way it works is it only can do damage if your opponent uses an attack. So if I had like a defensive move or a stat boosting move, Sucker Punch would fail. I am going to go ahead and Hyper Potion here though, just because, oh, come on. I am going to Hyper Potion here just because Sucker Punch with a crit will one-shot us. And if it's going to just keep spamming Sucker Punch, well, it's going to miss here because we didn't attack. Yep, see? Use Sucker Punch, but it failed. There we go. All right, we'll keep going for the Grass Knot for now. It's not going to one-shot the Sudowoodo, but that's fine. It'll three-shot it. Oh, wow, it just came short of it, actually. Well, it had a Citrus Berry, that's fine. It's not going to survive the next hit. Anyway, so the ultimately, oh, wow, low kick. Okay, it crit there. Fine. Gosh, this is a scary Sudowoodo. I'm going for it. As long as it doesn't crit 2 times in a row, we're fine. Yeah, we're totally fine. I'll have to switch out Go Nog Nogog here. Unless her last Pokemon is Hippowdon, Grass Whip will wreck it, but it does have Crunch. I guarantee you it has Crunch. I probably don't want to tank that. Who's my good switch out option? Oh, Wishcash. Huh. I'm less scared of Wishcash. I guess I'll go ahead and Hyper Potion here. I think we should be able to tank whatever this Wishcash Dishcash is out. Yeah, that was bad, I know. Here we go. Let's see what it gives us. Hydro Pump. Okay, we'll take a hit from this because it's a very high base damage move, but it shouldn't one-shot us unless it crits. And even if it does crit, I'm going to Hyper Potion one more time for safety, and then we'll one-shot it with Grass Whip, or two-shot it with Grass Whip, because it is quad weak to Grass-type moves. That should be pretty good in our favor. Anyway, yeah, so I have some nostalgia because, like, aesthetically, I guess narratively, they were interesting Pokemon. I really like their cards, and oh right, I was talking about Horseshoe Crab. So their blood is blue colored, which is why I think they have some degree of cobalt in their blood. I could be entirely mistaken, but there was some medically relevant reason. I think maybe that's what it was. It wasn't. There was a reason. Whatever the reason was, there was a reason why a lot of humans started harvesting these. I was gonna call them Pokemon. These creatures. Against their better benefit. Hydro Pump only has 5 moves, so if I keep heal tanking this, it will run out of that option soon enough. Hydro Pump should have a chance of missing too, which is unfortunate. We have not had good RNG for that. It's like an 80, I think it has an 80% hit rate. So this Wishcash is shooting above average, let's say. I do think what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna Grass Knot and then I'll switch out to tank the Crunch, probably on Quickle. Not sure if that's the optimal pull, but thankfully Shell Bell is keeping us topped off with HP, so we survive anything short of a crit. Finally, it missed. Okay, this should finish it off, and we'll heal a nice little chunk of HP back with Shell Bell. Aside from, like, personal, like, real-life connection to Horseshoe Crabs, though, there's not a lot to go with those kids that I have a lot of nostalgia for. I never really used them competitively. I didn't really have them on my team at any point. I thought their Pokemon cards were cool, but that's about the extent of it. I remember distinctly drawing Kabuto and Omastar as a kid, mostly because it was fun. No other real strong reason. I suspect we can probably tank a Crunch. I don't know if it's worth risking it, though, especially because Hippowdon's base attack isn't terrible. And Steel types actually used to resist Dark type moves. They lost that resistance with the later generations. So Quipplecore, I don't really have an answer to him, and he almost inevitably has Earthquake. I don't think I want to tank that. Guaranteed it has Stone Edge. Honestly, I think the best move here is probably to stay in and maybe heal and see what we're dealing with in terms of damage, and make my next move's decision based on that, because it doesn't hurt to get the information first. I reasonably expect us to survive a hit, unless it crits with Crunch, or gets the Defense Drop. Defense Drop would be rough. Let's see. Okay, so it can two-shot us with Crunch. There's no reason for us to stay in any further. That Hippowdon's offense is not to be taken lightly. There's no chance it would use Earthquake, right? Because it couldn't. It would not hit Go Nog Nogog if it used Earthquake. I'm gonna risk it. Captain Squawk's pretty bulky. He'll get Intimidate off, and that could make a world of difference here. So we switch into Captain Squawk, get the damage reduction from Intimidate, And then we probably switch to Pine Tree to hopefully block a Earthquake. Okay, as expected, to use Crunch. All right, we take a little damage from Sandstorm, that's fine. Now, guaranteed this Hippowdon has Earthquake. There's no reason they wouldn't give it. It definitely has either Stone Edge or Rock Slide. So there is a chance of death here if I'm not careful, but I'm gonna risk it for the halving of its attack with the second Intimidate. And once that happens, I think we're safe to switch into Go Nog Nogog, heal him up, and then he should be able to deal with Hippowdon just fine after that. See, there's the Earthquake, we predicted it. Okay, good. So now what we do is we switch into Gonog. We'll probably have to tank a Rock Slide, but we're not going to be tanking, or maybe she will. That was, oh, that zoom in on her face with that smile. I think she knows. I think she's going to use Crunch here. Watch. Okay, Ice Fang. Oh, interesting. Wasn't expecting it to have Ice Fang of all moves. All right, let's go ahead and heal up with a Hyper Potion, and then I think we are sitting pretty, and we can just let Gonog Nogog whittle this guy down with Grass Whip. I played it safe, but I had to, because that was kind of sketchy. I downplayed how high an attack stat Hippowdon must actually have, but of course it's going to get the the defense drop. I still think we survive even a crit here, and now with Sandstorm boost down, I don't have to worry about chip damage if I do have to switch out. Let's go for the Grass Knot and see how much damage we do. Again, crits are going to be the scariest thing. If it gets a second defense drop, we switch back out. That's the most important thing. All right, so we two-shot this guy, but we're not fast enough to outspeed it, so I will have to potion one more time. Tank another Crunch.
Dear child, don't assume for an instant you've won.
I don't assume that trust me, I have not. I have not done that at all. I'm still afraid. I'm still very afraid, and Crunch has a 30% chance of dropping defense, so I don't get any real leeway here. One good roll, oh, and it has, okay, actually, I mean, let me guess, you have a Chesto Berry? You've got to have a Chesto Berry. There's no way you put Rest on a Pokemon like this and don't use a Chesto Berry. Yep, called it. So, for context, Chesto Berry is a held item that when a Pokemon falls asleep, the sleep is instantly cured. It's a strategy for getting away with a free full heal off of Rest. That's a cute little laugh there. I will keep saying it, but I will praise this game for the way they've animated their trainers, if nothing else. Okay, we do have to switch out next turn to better tank this, because our defense is halved, Hippowdon's offense is halved, which basically puts us back to the position we were in when we started the run. One crit and we're done. So what I'm going to do is the exact same strategy we did before. I'm going to switch out to Captain Squawk, anticipating a Crunch, lower its attack stat yet again, and then we probably just honestly switch back into Go Nog Nogog at this point, because we don't really need to risk taking a hit on Pine Tree. Oh, you're just gonna spam Rest. Well, that's free something, I guess. So Chesto Berry can only be used once. So now this Hippowdon is just stuck sleeping for the next 2 turns. Rest is a guaranteed sleep of 2 turns. So honestly, maybe I just switch out to Manny the Dude Buster and surf him. I don't know why I was so committed to Go Nog Nogog when I have Manny the Dude Buster who just busts the dudes. All right. Let's switch out to Manny TDB and toss out a Surf and make short work of this Hippowdon. Should be fine that way. And I choose Surf over Ice Beam since they're both super effective. Surf has higher base damage and same type attack bonus off of Manny's Water Ground type, so it just does more damage overall. Doesn't one-shot, but that's fine. Manny's so proud of himself, and Hippowdon is locked into sleep. Like, that was a very poorly chosen to do Rest. Probably needed to do it to survive, but it's certainly counterproductive to her end goal, it seems. And there we go. Elite Four done. We've had 3 major battles this episode between Betty, Aaron, and Bertha. I want to call her Agatha because why do all the early gen, or like the first couple generation of Elite Fours always have like an old woman? I guess Gen 1 and Gen 2 were Agatha, so it's technically the same old woman, but she looks just like Agatha. If you had told me that was Agatha, I would have believed you. There we go. Elite Four Bertha defeated.
Well, dear child, I must say that was most impressive. Your Pokemon believed in you and did their best to earn you the win. Even though I've lost, I find myself with a silly grin.
All right. We're halfway through the Elite Four. Just the last 2 Elite Four and Cynthia, and then we're there.
You're quite something, youngster. You're quite something, youngster. I like how you and your Pokemon earned the win by working as one. That's what makes you so strong.
I think that you can go as far as you want.
All right, there we go. Well, Kiwi, we're well into time, so I'm going to call this an episode. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and if you're awake, I hope this is helping you fall asleep. If you're sleeping, I hope you're sleeping well. In the next episode, the last 3 battles of this playthrough. With all that said, though, I hope you've enjoyed watching. I love you, and I will see you in the next one.